Hi, it's Sandy Parker, and welcome to Crafting for Almost Everyone. Well, one of my viewers asked me if I would make a gift packaging for a manicure set from the Dollar Tree, and of course I'm on board. I hope you'll stay tuned. So these are the things that she was interested in. She liked the manicure set, and these two Wet n Wild squarish bottles of nail polish, and I decided to make the packaging more even, that I would also include one of these white sanding blocks that's for your nails. And I wanted to show you all of these because I'm not going to use the packaging on any of them except for the manicure kit, because they're going to be protected in the box we're creating. So these will just take up space that I clearly don't really have. So let me get these out of the case and or out of their packaging, and I'll be right back. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make what I'm going to hold them in within my box I'm making. I want to hold each bottle individually. So the first thing I'm going to do are my two nail polishes. So we're going to start with a piece of, I'm using the cardboard off of a back of a paper pad. That's all the thicker it has to be. It doesn't have to be great. And it's going to be 4.5 inches long, and it's going to be 1 3/4 inch tall. And all of our pieces we're going to do are going to be 1 3/4 inch tall. So if I forget to tell you that measurement, that's what it's going to be. So we're going to score it in your scoreboard. Mine is a Martha Stewart. People ask me about this all the time. It's a retired cutting / scoreboard. This was a cutting surface, but I lost the cutting tool out of it, so it doesn't do anything. But I didn't want to take it off because it holds this in place. There's it's like a clasp with a bunch of papers in there that show you different projects you can do. It is the greatest. If you're interested in this, you can sometimes find them on eBay, but Stampin' Up! Makes a very similar tool to this. Anyway, I'm on a tangent. I'm going to score this at 1 1/4, at 2, at 3 1/4, and at 4. Okay? And then here's how it works. When you fold it, you're going to have this flap that we're going to attach to the back that's going to hold everything in place. And then I get my other bottle of nail polish, and you're going to stick it in like that. Isn't that the slickest little thing? So you're going to need 2 of that measurement. And again, it was 4.5 inches long and 1 3/4 inch tall. You need 2 of those scored exactly the same. So to make our box for the manicure set, you're going to take a 6-inch piece of the cardboard from the back of a paper pad by 1 3/4 inches tall, and then a matching piece of cardstock, again 6 inches by 1 3/4 inches tall. Then you're going to score it, and this one does have several scores on it. The scores are going to be at 1 7/8. Ooh, not even close. 1 7/8 by 2 3/4, then 4 5/8, and 5 1/2. Make sure that's right. So you're going to do the same thing on your paper, but I do it on the orange side because the green side is where I want to have showing. 1 7/8. 2 3/4, 4 5/8, and 5 1/2. Hopefully those are right. Then you're going to want to take tear tape, and you're going to want to cover beside each one of your scores. But I'm only gonna show you a little bit of where you're gonna put your lines of tape. Okay, Here are each of your scores. Hopefully you can see the scores. You're going to want to put a piece of tear tape on either side, and I'm just going to do this kind of as fast as I do things, and then I'll show it to you. Okay, you want one piece on the end. Then here's the score line right there. You want to put a piece of tape on either side of that score line. Same with the next one. A piece on either side of it. And this is going to hold your paper in place. And then your next line on either side of it. And then on your next line. And then at the end, like that. Now that we have our tear tape backing off of everything, we're going to put, this is Tombow Mono Aqua liquid glue. We're just going to put this all over just to make sure that if we need to move our paper, we can, and to make sure it's all really well adhered, so you don't have anything that comes unglued along the way, you know, the top or the bottom, because this is going to get a lot of wear. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to line up your paper. You want to make sure that the shorts, the one that has the little 1/2 inch score, is at this end, because this is where the 1/2 inch score is on mine. So you're going to line them up like that, lay them together, make sure everybody's lined up really well, and if they aren't, you can always pick it back up and, you know, just kind of readjust. Like right here, it needs to be moved up a little bit. That's why the wet glue comes in handy. Then you're going to do your folds, and then this last fold is going to be on the outside, because you don't want anything to get caught on it in the inside of your box. So make sure that you put your glue on the outside or on the inside flap of this. Doesn't matter where you put it, you just want a lot of it. So you want to fold your box up and you want to put that down. I always put a little clip on it while I'm waiting for it to set up, like that. And then once it's completely dry, this will slide in and out. The thing that's cool about this is there's this little lip on this box, and it really does a nice job of holding it in place. And then once you're done with that, you're going to put tear tape on the back of this. In part of the video, I was not in screen, you know, everything was out of screen, and so I didn't show this really well. But you're going to want to put on the back where that flap is, you know, where this flap is, you're going to want to put a few rows, I'm going to put it on this end now, of tear tape. And those are going to be kind of the start of what's going to hold this in your box. I probably would put on this bigger one 4 rows of the tear tape, and I'll put one more at the end. You're going to take off of all those backings off of these, and you're going to put more wet glue on there. And then you're going to glue them in your box. You're going to glue them so that this is, hold on, I'll hold up the top of my box. I had a problem where I was out of camera. If I didn't already say that, that's why I'm showing you this now. Because I was out of camera, you didn't really see this part, and I want to make sure you see it. This bottom part of the box, when you hold it upright, you need these boxes to sit flush on that. So there is a score line right there. Make sure that these boxes sit right on top of that score line, not on it, right above it, so that when you close your box up, those will lay flat with the bottom of your box. I can't explain that any other way, I don't think. When you look at your box from this angle, and of course this is finished, and so you don't, all this is to come, but you're going to have one score line right here Then the second score line is where you want to make sure your boxes are right above it. I mean, just a titch above that. And that way, when the box is closed, they will completely sit flat. Hopefully you can see that they will sit flat on that. And they don't come out, they don't move around. I thought by not having a bottom, there would be a problem, but because of this lip, it fits perfectly in there and is very snug, and the nail polishes don't move either. The rest of this you will see being made coming up, but I wanted to kind of show you these parts that were out of the screen before. The other thing that I did not explain, I was putting on a magnet, and I didn't explain that I put on a magnet. The reason I didn't explain it is because the magnet wasn't strong enough, and so in the end I had to do something with Velcro. So our box doesn't use the magnet at all, but I had to leave it in there because it's clearly attached to the box. So hopefully I covered everything here that we needed to, and let's go on with the box. Alright, so I've got my tear tape. I'm taking the backing off, and this time I have it on there the right way, on the right side of the paper instead of on the wrong side of the paper. And I've pre-folded everything to make sure that my folds are really good. And then you just want to make sure that you have enough wet glue on here that when you need to line it up, that your wet glue will allow it to move around. Because you want to make sure that your paper is perfectly aligned on here. And I mean perfectly aligned. Okay, and you want to make sure that you rub it really well to get it to lay down. Wet glue on the inside of my last little white piece, because I'm going to put my fold on the outside of my box. So that means you want to put your glue on the back side of that white piece. Does that make sense? I hope it did. You can always put it on the inside, but I figured if I had my little clasp, my little flap on the inside, that when I put things in, like when I put my nail polish in there, it would get stuck on that little piece. That's what I kept thinking. So that's why my flap, you can see it better on this one, is on the outside of the little box. So now all I need to do is my last piece. Well, you don't want to watch this. You've already seen me do it. So let me go to the next step, which is making our... We'll go to the next step, which is making our case itself. So I cut our cardboard and 2 pieces of cardstock that match to these dimensions. You want it to be 12 inches long and 5 1/4 inches tall. Now we're going to score our cardboard at 5 3/8. And before I go any further, I want to make sure that you know what are 8ths on your scoreboard. If you, let's say we're doing the 5 3/8. You count these dashes between the 5 and the 6. You see these dashes? So you're going to, if it's 5 3/8, you don't count the one that's a 5. 1, 2, 3. That's the 5 3/8. But the way you figure it out is you count these number of dashes. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 between each of these, the 5 and the 6. So that means each one of these dashes is 1/8 of an inch. So again, if you're going to do 5 3/8, it's 5 and then 1, 2, 3 8ths. So you're going to score it right there. Then our next one is 9 5/8. So that's 9, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 8ths. Then our next one is 10 3/4, which is, if you look at the bigger dashes, these black ones, they are the quarter marks. So this is 1/4, 1/2, 3/4. Or, I know I'm not going to explain it to you the other way. That'll just confuse you. So 3/4 is right there. So those are our scores: 5 3/8, 9 5/8, and 10 3/4. We're done with our scoring. I've already scored my papers the exact same way, because we're going to glue our papers down once. We're going to glue our fronts and our backs on there, and I'm going to put magnets on here. Before I go any further though, I do it around my corners, and I'm going to be using my favorite tool in the world. It's the Kadomaru Pro Corner Rounder. The end you want to corner round on is the one that has the 10 3/4 inch score. So these two edges I'm going to round if I can, because this is cardboard. Sometimes it's tricky, but that was no problem at all. You're going to do the same thing on your papers. You're going to want to round the corners on that end. I'm looking for my scores. That's the right end. Ooh. The way you know when this isn't working is when it makes that, it doesn't make that popping sound. You want it to make that sound like a snapping noise like that. That's when you know you have a good score. For some reason that end didn't want to score properly. And then I'm going to do this one as well. So I'm going to put the length right there. And that's when I ran out. That's all I needed. Sure. I'll put a little piece right there in the center too. Then we'll go to the little tear tape. And I'm going to put my tear tape on either side of my folds. Remember that. Don't put it right on that fold line, you know, where we scored. Don't put it on the score line. Put it on either side of your score line, because if you put it right on your score line, you're going to have a problem with it. Your paper won't adhere properly, and you'll end up having it come off of the fold. And remember, the inside of our box is where we're going to be gluing in our little mini boxes. So we have to make sure that our paper's really well adhered where that's going to sit. And I'll show you where that is in a second. Hold on, I want to just show you this real fast. Right here. Okay, can you see in here? Right in here, that is where we're gluing everything. So we have to make sure that we have a lot of adhesive in that section. More than anywhere else, that's the most important section for adhesive. So I'm going to put 3 lines of tear tape in there. And I'll be back as soon as I rip off all my backings, and we'll go from there. It's all completely glued, and I'm just putting a little bit more glue on my paper just to make sure that we have a good seam. And before I glue it down, I want to make sure that I put my ribbon on that I'm going to make for my handle for my little purse. This is my ribbon. It's just a plain green, I'm not sure what you call it, ribbon. And I'm going to glue that in. And then I'm going to put glue on top of my ribbon too, because I want to make sure that that ribbon really adheres to the paper. I'm going to make the inside orange, and the outside is going to be green. Hold on, I got to line this up better. If you had a brayer, or you could use your bone folder to do this, but you really, really want to make sure this is well adhered. And then, remember we did those scores on the paper, so we want to make sure those scores are nice. You know, bend them, don't force them. You want to slowly do your bends, because otherwise you can crack your paper, and we don't want our paper to crack. Making sure that everything stays glued down. And I'll pull out that ribbon, because that ribbon is not working for us. I have to figure out another way to do my, attach my ribbon. Alright, so here's the inside of our box. And we could, at this point, put in our nail polish box and our manicure box. I think what I'm going to do with these, though, is I'm going to put a lot and I mean a lot, of tear tape on the backs of them, plus wet glue, because we want to make sure we get these to stay in place. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a lot of tear tape to the backs of these 3 boxes, take all the glue, the tear tape off, and I'll be right back. We're at the tail end now. So, okay, it goes on like this. I want to make sure I'm going to get my little bottom piece lined up first. Come on, buddy. I have so much tear tape and glue on this, it doesn't want to stay flat. Well, we're going to see if we can make the ribbon work one more time. If this time it doesn't work, then we're giving up on it. Now we're ready to put in our pieces at the bottom. I've already put my tear tape on the back, and I've already taken the backing off the tear tape. Now I'm just putting some wet glue on it to make sure that I get them to glue down. And I think I'm going to maybe glue them together on the sides, you know, side by side. I haven't decided that yet. I'm going to center them because there's a little bit of space on either side, and you want to make sure that they touch the bottom, because the problem is there's nothing to glue them to on the bottom. You know, you really can't, well, let me show you this. You can't adhere them to the bottom because there's absolutely nothing down there. I could have put a bottom on my boxes. That's probably what I should have done, but I didn't. Just like that. Well, they fit perfectly with each other. So I decided we're going to finish this up. First thing I thought about, and it worried me a little bit, was that my handle is too long. But in retrospect, I figured this way. If the handle is really too long, we could always knot it at the top or do something to make it less problematic. But I don't really think it is. So we're going to kick that idea to the curb and not worry about it. Then the next problem I had was my magnet wasn't strong enough to hold everything in place. That was problematic. So I found at Joann's these little, they're almost clear Velcro tabs. What I was thinking when I was doing this was that, first of all, you know that we have to line it up with where our magnet is. And my magnet is right there. I'm going to put my thumbnail on it right there. So what I wanted to do was, if I could, I wanted to figure out a way to put my Velcro pieces on the white dots. But on the flip side of that, I need it to be further off to the sides so that it holds the sides shut. So I think we're going to ignore the whole worrying about whether or not they're in the right place, you know, as far as being over the circle. I would have loved to have been able to hide them under the circle. I'm going to line it up. And I'm going to push it down. And I put the thicker side on this because I think this is more durable than my top. And then we're going to put one on the right side, as close as I can to the side, but still trying to line it up. That looks good. That's pretty. I mean, I could have eyeballed it a little bit better, and I should or could put another one in the center and ignore my magnet, but for right now we're just going to go with the two that we have on either side. I was going to just lay it, not just gently kind of tap it onto the one below it like that. And for a minute, I'm just going to let that set up, and hopefully I won't run into a problem with it. Oh, I better just glue it down, right? Okay. So I want to make sure that that is where my circle is. And by circle, I meant magnet. Now, I had some ideas about other things I wanted to do with the kit. As you'll recall, when I glued this down, I thought this was going to be an issue that I had these glued to the back and not to this bottom section. But in retrospect, I started thinking about if you push on this, hopefully you can see this. When you push on it, this part tilts up. See, my hand can fit under there. So what I thought was this would be a perfect place to actually do your nails. So I cut a piece of acetate. It is 4 1/4 inches tall and 5 1/4 inches wide. Here was the tear tape before I took the backing off. Then once I took the backing off, can you see this? I didn't like the look of that. And I don't know if wet glue will make a big difference, but I think I'm going to go with wet glue because I don't like that weird line. You can see it. I think you can see it there. Anyway, so I'm kicking that one to the curb, and we're going to go with just wet glue. I'm going to use my Tombow Mono Aqua Glue because for me, it works well, and I think you won't see it really, really well. But with that being said, I'm going to put the most significant amounts of it on my edges. So far, so good. So now when you work with it, you can put your nails right there and work on them. So then I was thinking about the fact that I gave up on this nail block, and I went back to the Dollar Tree and I found this Sassy and Chic nail grooming kit that is in fact adorable. What I wanted was a shorter nail file. So this is what comes in the kit. These are all little nail files, and they were so cute, but I couldn't figure out where to put them. This is the nail file I'm using, and then I'll just keep the fingernail clippers and the cuticle tool for something else, and then I'll use those on I don't know what else. But anyway, that's what comes in the kit. All I wanted was this. Unfortunately, it's not how it always works. So we're going to have a piece of paper. This is not the cardboard off the back of the paper pad like I used for my actual base. This is just cardstock because I found with this one that it couldn't be that thick. So this is probably 90-pound cardstock. And we're going to cover it with our regular paper. And what you're going to do is you're going to cut this to be 2 3/4 inches wide and 1 3/4 inches tall. You know, I always put this information in the notes below. And then we're going to do a little bit of scoring. Yeah, it's 1, and then I'm going to score it again at 1 7/8. So that means the 7th line, and at 2 inches. Then we're going to do the same thing on the back of this because we want our green paper to be the paper that is on top. So we score on the back of it. And I'm just going to do the same thing. 7/8 and 1, 1 7/8 and 2. And that's all the scoring we're going to do. So the way it works then is you're going to fold it just like that. And then this should slide in and out of that. It's not going to slide super easily, but I made it long enough that you should be able to pull it out. And as it wears, it should loosen up a little bit more. So let's put our paper on here. And the reason I did all the scores on the paper is so that when you fold it or you put it over this, it's gonna be on there secure and for good. And we're gonna use a little bit of the tear tape like we did before on either sides of the scores because we want our paper to really stay attached. Back to our wet glue. Remember, the reason for this is that not only does it hold it in place, but it also gives you the ability to pick the paper back up if you accidentally lay it down improperly, and you know I do that. Now we're rolling. You can use a bone folder to make sure it's well adhered, or you can roll over it with a brayer. But I just kind of just do this. It works okay for me. I know they call tear tape something else, but I can never remember what else it's called. I call it tear tape just because it's tape that tears. And I'm going to put a little bit of tear tape on either side and on the middle of this, just so we know that it's going to, come on, stay attached to our project. I'm going to do this because then you can be sure that it's attached, and you get your bends. You know, we'll get our bends nice and secure, and then we can put glue, wet glue, on this back part, and that way we just ensure that we get it attached the way we want it. And we're going to put this piece up on our wrinkled part that I never liked because it was wrinkled. I'm just going to stick that right in there and I'll push down. You're just going to hold it for a minute, let the glue set up, and I'm really hoping that my Velcro parts hold it. I do think I'm going to need to put Velcro in the middle, just because that little piece I had, that magnet, is really weak, and I thought it was not going to be. I never had good luck with those magnets. They're supposed to be so strong, you know, like Superman strong. They don't seem to be Superman strong for me. And if I didn't tell you, I bought my Velcro at Joann Fabrics, and this is what it looks like. Beautiful. So now when you're doing your nails, you'll have your hand here. You can put one of your paints on this piece too. Then your nail files up here, and all your other components are in that part. Then here comes the fun part, the part I like the best, and that is decorating. I'm going to use a glue that works really good for ribbon, and that is Fabrifix. It's also called Fabritech. It's made by Beacon, and if it says Fabrifix or Fabritech, you know that's the right stuff. And I'm going to be using some ribbon I just bought at Joann's, and this is Buy This Spool, W-Y-L-A. It was $1. I'm going to put my bead of glue on the edge of my cardboard here. I'm going to put that, I want to make sure it's completely straight across, if I can make it straight across. One more thing this does a nice job of is it kind of, if you don't have the problem I do where it just had a big dollop on it, it does a nice job of sealing your ends of your ribbon. And like I said, when it comes to this handle, here's what I was thinking, that if you just were not in the mood to have it be as long as, you know, I crazily made it, here's what you could do. You take it, make a loop, then pull the loop through, and then try and center it a little bit. And then that way you've got kind of a cute, I'm not pulling it tight because if my recipient doesn't want the knot and wants to carry it with the long handle, they can. So I decided I needed to do a little bit more decorating on this because it's just a little too plain for me. And I found these stickers that are holographic butterflies. I know I got these at the Dollar Tree, and I think some of them really look nice with this. I'm not looking to put a ton on there, but I thought maybe just as an accent, I don't know, you know me, I don't really know for sure. Then I found this ribbon that's very thin, but I thought it would be pretty going across the center of my white ribbon. So I'm going to take my glue. It's as you know, it's Beacon Fabrifix. They call it a fabric adhesive, but it works to adhere just about anything. So if you're looking for a good alternative to hot glue, you know, like, so you don't want to burn your hands off, this is a good alternative for you. And I'm putting a pretty good amount across there because I want to be able to lay my ribbon on it and ensure that it's going to adhere secure and for good. And I'm going to turn it around this way so that I have a better idea of where my ribbon needs to go. And I'm laying it right in there, like right in that glue, and realizing that my original ribbon wasn't completely straight on there. Make sure the ends are really well adhered. Then I'm going to use my Tim Holtz scissors to cut it. These are not my ribbon scissors, but when I'm trying to cut something as finicky as ribbon that frays, this does a nice job of making sure that the fray doesn't happen if you've got that glue in it. And that glue also stops fraying. Okay, so I cut all the white edges off of my butterfly. I think I'm just going to put one in the center up here. I'm going to turn it around so I can see what's the center, and like side to side center and up and down center. So I hope that you enjoyed this, that you are inspired to try it yourself. I really like the inside and how you're able to paint your nails and do all of the different, you know, file them and work on your cuticles. And then I put in a base coat and a regular color nail polish. Anyway, I think you should give this project a try. I'm really excited that one of my viewers asked me to do this. And so if you have a project idea that you'd like me to try, as I said before, I came up with the whole project like after she told me what she wanted. I came up with the whole making of this on my own. I didn't copy anybody else's, and I'm proud of that. So if you have an idea like that you want me to try, let me know. You can put it in the comments below or email me. My email is always in the information below. I hope you enjoyed this, that you give it a thumbs up and subscribe. Please tell your friends about me on social media because you know I love that. And thanks so much for watching. Bye-bye.